On this week's show,
Nige suggests an eating regime for Keith in the shape of the Santa Clarita Diet.
he's eating human flesh.
I get a specific rim job.
And we have an ongoing saga with Keith and his game of drones.
Stay tuned.
Hello, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, gamers and geeks alike. It's this week's Monkey Nut Punch podcast. And just before we start, hang on. Let me fucking explain, Keith. Just before we start, there's a reason that the intro's a little on the low side, and it's got something to do with politics and free speech. I know that that's a big turn-off for a lot of people. So what we'll do is we'll put that at the end of the podcast after the credits. And if you want to listen, you can listen. If you don't want to listen, don't listen. Please, it's not an obligation of any sorts. So on this week's show, we'll be talking about Pacific Rim 2, the Santa Clarita Diet, Google's Pixel 2, Matt Smith and the Crown, Train to Busan, Krypton TV show, and Keith is gonna fucking go on about freaking drones again. So hello guys.
Hello, guys.
Hello, guys.
So how are we all doing?
Yeah.
Fine.
We're all a bunch of happy people this week, aren't we?
Yeah, we're all really happy this week. Nige, I've spoke to Nige earlier, and Nige is feeling a bit under the weather at the moment. So be kind to young Nigel, even though he's older than me, because he's just feeling a bit under the weather. And if his neighbours start drilling, he might drop out and then come back, which won't be great. So,
With an
Keith,
axe in his hand.
Keith, you saw the epic porno film Pacific Rim 2.
I wish I'd
Specific
seen
rim.
that. I wish I'd seen that. So, yeah, that was the one I remember. Yes, I saw Pacific Rim. Something Rising. I can't remember the name, the full title of it. It was all right. I liked the first one. I thought the first one was really good because it was a bit quirky. It was very what's his name, Guillermo del Toro, and
Yes.
he was meant to be making the second one, but he decided to make a film about shagging fish. So, which turns out it was quite a good decision because it got best film.
No, I got best film because he played to a political group. What was it? The fish shagging thing. Just a quick one.
Hang on. I haven't taken my opportunity to just to say to you, to your face, I fucking called it. Oscars 3 episodes ago when I said Gary Oldman would get best actor and The Shape of Water or the fish shagging movie would get best picture. Was I not right?
But hang on a second. Was there any controversy behind Gary Oldman getting that Oscar?
There's any man that wins a fucking Oscar these days. There's controversy.
Because about apparently his spousal abuse, shall we say?
Well, apparently, any man that wins an Oscar these days, I think there's going to be controversy about. To be honest, I mean, it could be the nicest, kindest man in the world, and you'll probably be accused of saying the wrong word at the wrong time because that's the world that we live in now. But anyway, yeah, it was okay. It was not as good as the first one, but it wasn't bad. It was quite a good popcorn flick. John Boyega of Star Wars fame is very good in it. In fact, he makes the film watchable. I think if he wasn't in it, it would have been very generic, but he makes the film quite watchable and brings the comedy.
Do you know what I found funny? Just talking about John Boyega, yeah? One of the reasons that the Chinese crowd didn't like Star Wars as much is they thought John Boyega was ugly and they would prefer Will Smith in Star Wars. That was a genuine comment they made.
Yeah.
Seriously. Just as an aside, I found that quite amusing. Things like, okay, fair enough. I actually quite enjoyed him in Star Wars. Apart from he was wasted in fucking Last Jedi.
It's basically Independence Day 2, though. It effectively does exactly what Independence Day 2 does, and it sets up a third movie. And you kind of want to see that third movie more than you want to see that second movie. And this is exactly what this one does. So at the end of the first movie, they closed the breach, and Luther, who was known as Stacker in the original one, blows himself up to save the day. The second one has none of the original characters, bar the was she Japanese, Chinese, Korean? I can't remember. The daughter that is the co-pilot with the guy out of Sons of Anarchy. She turns up in it briefly. She has really a cameo, and then she's sort of dispatched quite early on, and then the story takes over from there. But they're blatantly setting up a third movie where they take the fight to the aliens, and that's exactly how it really ends. It's better than Independence Day 2, though.
So let's get this right, yeah? In the world of Pacific Rim, yeah, there is a hole in the earth which could be described as its anus, which keeps pooping out monsters that keep attacking people.
Yes.
Now, Luther, or I can't remember his name now. What's his name?
Stacker. Marshall Stacker.
Marshall Stacker, played by the guy who played Luther, Idris Elba, stuck a suppository up there to block them off for a while.
He blew it up.
The suppository got pooped out, yeah?
No.
And now the monsters are coming back.
No, basically, do you remember the two nutty scientists? You had the English guy out of Torchwood and another guy that kind of could be the love child of that wacky guy out of Police Academy.
Okay.
That guy. Yeah.
Like a cat stuck in a tumble dryer.
Well, he kind of mind melded with the what do they call them? The kaiju in the first one. Well, it turns out that the aliens basically implanted themselves in his brain. So he's the bad guy. And he effectively creates these Jaegers with kaiju brains that somehow manage to reopen the breach. And 3 huge kaiju escape. And then they have to kick their asses, basically. But now that they know how to reopen the breach and they capture this guy, Newt is his name, they capture this guy. And at the end of it, basically John Boyega, who is the son of Stacker, goes, now that we know how to open it, we're taking the fight to them. Which is exactly the same ending as Independence Day 2. Almost to the point. So basically, it sets up a third movie. So if this makes a bucket load of cash, you know what's going to happen in the third one. That basically the Jaegers are going through the breach to kick their asses.
All right. Okay. Well,
it's a
I wasn't too wrong.
flick.
I wasn't too wrong about the suppository. The guy figured out a way how to pop out the suppository and get the kaiju shat back out into the world. So in the next one, it's going to be like the inner space style one where they get to climb inside the guts, travel up the anus, and take care of these bastard aliens.
Effectively, yes. It's okay. It's a good popcorn thing. You don't have to think much. I'd recommend it if you haven't got anything better to do. But if you can only see one film this month, wait till next week, because you can guarantee what's coming out next week is going to be a gazillion times better.
What's coming out next week?
Ready Player One, and the early reviews are saying it's classic Spielberg. In fact, they're going to say it's one of his best in years.
They'll say, the problem is they'll say that, but the box office won't reflect it, and nor will the reviewers, because the critics are not in it with the people anymore. So no. I hold my breath and wait for people to actually watch it, come back and give me a proper review.
This is there've people that have actually seen it and said it's good. This isn't coming from critics. This is coming from pre-early screenings. So it's meant to be good. I don't know when it comes out in the UK, but it's out in Asia next week.
Okay. Right, just before we go into Santa Clarita Diet, I would like to just point out a news story that I read on my phone this week. people believed that the new Avengers poster, someone had popped a penis into it. It turns out it was the Avengers Tower. And people were mistaking that for a cock. I thought that was interesting to bring up. Considering I'm looking at Keith.
Common mistake, Gareth. Very common mistake.
Yeah.
I haven't picked on you this week.
No. Anyway, Nige.
Is it a bird? Is it a plane? Is it a giant cock? No, it's just Keith.
No, that's a bit too much.
No, I deserve it. It's not like I don't give him enough grief.
You're not a massive cock.
I can take it.
You can take it.
You can take it. Well, you have been talking about a rim for a little bit of time.
Yeah, and given the fact they need to go on a diet, maybe the Santa Clarita Diet, it would help him stop being a massive cock. Tell us about a Santa Clarita Diet, Nige, before he goes off on one. I have to distract him with a fake promo for something.
Yeah. So the Santa Clarita Diet is on Netflix, and I sort of happened upon it yesterday, although Gareth has seen the first season. Season 2 has literally just come out on March 23rd, so you can binge watch to your heart's content. 10 episodes in each season so far, 2 seasons. So, what is it? It's I can only describe it to be a mixture of two programs. One that I've mentioned before, which is iZombie, and also available on Netflix, and another being Dexter. Now, I've likened it to Dexter because of one reason, and one reason alone. In order for this woman, played by Drew Barrymore, I've forgotten her name, what's her? Sheila Hammond.
Yeah.
To survive, she has to go out and kill people, and the only thing that satisfies her thirst is human flesh. So basically, what happens is a couple of guys. They're married, Sheila and Joel Hammond. They're both realtors, or however you say it.
They're estate agents. They're fucking estate agents. All right,
we are British.
Realtors, my ass. Fucking estate agents.
In America, they're realtors. Fucking
estate agents.
Estate agents.
They flog houses. They flog
houses.
Asses.
Originally, when they were going to a house, the placard on the outside of a house had their face on it, and I thought they owned the company and stuff. But when Drew Barrymore's character went to the office, she got shouted at by somebody who apparently owns the office and whatnot, and she was comforted and stuff by a new starter who had only just started and moved into the area about a week ago. Anyway, so she is showing a house off, and during the house showing, she is feeling a bit off. Actually, she's feeling a little bit off before she goes, but
I forgot that.
Yeah, forgot that. She was feeling a little bit off before she and her husband went to show the house. So she's like, whatever, probably just ate something a bit dodge. At the house, and the house showing, she's in the bedroom, and she's trying to explain something. And as she's explaining something, a huge amount of vomit comes out of her mouth and all over the carpet. And her husband goes, are you all right? I'd like to show... and he turns to the people he's showing her house to. I'd like to show you the kitchen. Can I show you the kitchen? I think the kitchen would be a good thing to show you right now. And she goes, I'm going to go to the bathroom and clean up a bit. And she goes in the bathroom, and as he's showing them around the house, in every room you hear her vomiting. A huge amount. And you're going, that's quite a lot of vomit. And they leave, disgusted. He goes to check on her. He goes, opens the bathroom door, and he walks in, and the whole bathroom is covered. Absolutely covered. And next to her, she's on the floor, next to her is what can only be described as looking like a dried prune. Bit bigger.
Yeah.
Next to her, big little red prune thing. And he's looking at her going, she goes, that came out. It's like, odd. So she's going, I'm not feeling good. And he's like feeling her temperature and stuff, and she feels a bit off. So he takes her home, they clean her up and all that sort of stuff. And she's had a shower and stuff, lying in the bed, and she's going, I don't think I can feel my pulse. And he's like, what? Comes over. Can't find a pulse either. He's like, what the fuck? And then she starts saying, yeah, but I haven't got a pulse, but I feel fine. And I forgot one thing. They took her to the hospital, and she's saying, I've been here 3 hours, I've still not been seen, I'm getting a bit knocked off. And he goes up to the woman, he goes, I've told you before, she has only vomited. And he goes, a lot? She goes, yeah, but it's only vomit? Yeah, but it was a lot. And they were like, take your seat or I'll get security to remove you. It's like, I'm thinking, really? Is that what they do in America now?
Yeah.
Okay. Probably not. Probably not true.
Yeah.
So it all transpires. Moving on to she's home, no pulse. They enlist somebody who the daughter finds out straight away, like, don't hide it from her. Get next door neighbour's kid who's a bit of a loner, but he knows about this sort of stuff apparently. And he starts coming up with theories about zombies and walkers and all that sort of stuff and like that. And she finds that normal food doesn't satisfy her, so she's eating raw meat.
Yeah.
And then things move on.
Yeah.
Something happens, and then they have to deal with dead bodies and hide it and this and that. So I would say it's a bit more light-hearted, a little bit more comedic. Wouldn't you say, Gareth?
Is she a zombie?
No, she's a revenant.
So I've got to, I've only watched about 3 or 4 episodes so far, and they haven't got to figure out what she is yet.
Okay. Okay. Well, Keith. Easy way of describing revenant. It's I believe it's from like Irish law, and a revenant is something that has come back that's like a zombie, but still has all its faculties and cannot leave the world until that their undealt business has been dealt with.
So effectively, she died.
It might have been the case, but there's a weird thing. He's looking up in the book. I don't think it's. I think she's a revenant, but we'll have to have a look in it because it's like in iZombie. She's a revenant in the comic, but not in the TV show.
So she's looking for an answer, and her husband's going off for an answer, isn't he? And he comes across a weird bookshop. She's a weird sort of woman. And he sees a couple of paintings which sort of depicted what happened to his wife, so he bought them and found out that the writing was actually from Romany, I think it was, or
somewhere around that way, like Yugoslavian or something like that, East Europe.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah, so he needs to find somebody to translate it, basically, to figure it out.
Now, I've watched the whole series, and I can tell you one thing: Timothy Oliphant, who's the husband, fucking hilarious. He has some really good bits in it which really make you laugh. And he's like he tends to be the butt of most of the jokes in it.
Yeah.
And because he's like the long-suffering husband to her and her ailment, it kind of pans out and really fucking makes you laugh in places.
It does, although he does seem to have only one expression for everything. I don't know if you've noticed that. He's trying to have a pained expression on his face, but he looks like he's laughing. He's probably done that scene about 10 times, and that was the best take. And he's still smirking.
One of the best bits is when he goes to a convention and he helps the nerd out, get some nerd cred, and it's all around him having. He was pissing next to some guy in the urinals, and he like threatens. He doesn't mean to, but somehow threatens him, and he doesn't understand how he threatens this guy. And it's just a real fucking comedy of errors, and you'll get to that bit, and it is funny. I've got to watch the second series.
The two warring cops either side that lived either side of him.
Yeah, you've got the guy from, I think he was in Event Horizon, and I don't know who the other cop is, but he's the one who gets I think he gets killed, and a lot of stuff.
There's a cop on the right hand side. He's a bit of a nosy Parker, and he's constantly looking out, and he wanders around in their garden and shit. And he's like, "The garden thing, you got to stay out of my garden without invitations. Stop it."
Mm.
And the next door neighbour to the left, he's all right actually. He seems the one with a motorbike.
Yeah, I think what it is one's from the LA County Sheriff's Department and one's from the LAPD Department, and those two are supposed to be like rival organisations as it is. Yeah, and then that in turn translates into those two guys, which I think is quite amusing.
Yeah, they're having it off, and he stood in the middle going, "I don't know what's going on."
Yeah,
I don't know. I'm just going to jump in my car and go. Yeah, it is amusing. It's an amusing program, I feel.
Yeah.
Do you like it?
I watched it. I watched the first series. Me and Tan liked it. There's some really good funny bits in it. It's a good story. It's not hugely hilarious all the way through. You're not going to be holding your sides because it hurts so much, but there's some great bits in it. Towards the end, there's a few gross out bits.
Yeah.
But it was a very good show. I really enjoyed it. Keith, you wanted to say something?
About
Santa Clarita Diet.
No. No, it's really big in Asia. They launched the second series here. We have both. What's the bloke's name?
Timothy Oliphant.
Timothy Oliphant and Drew Barrymore came to Thailand, and there was a big launch show event last week in Bangkok. So it's obviously huge here. So
cool.
Get on it, Keith. Have a watch.
Yeah, I'm going to watch it after this podcast. I will watch the first episode. That's my evening's viewing.
Make sure you don't eat anything.
Yeah,
because it is a bit grim.
Right, fair enough.
But it's funny.
Yeah, they're not shy on the blood, and especially the puking as well.
I usually piss myself with gore. I don't know. I don't know what kind of reaction, but when I first saw Scream, I was laughing throughout the entire movie, even at the most gory bits. Gore doesn't really affect me.
What I like about this is I'm liking the shorter programs, the shorter duration programs. So each episode is 25 to 30 minutes, maybe 35 minutes long, rather than having 45 minutes and a little bit drawn out and not much going on. I like them shrunk down a little bit more going on all the time. Do you know what I mean? Then you can binge watch a few more, couldn't you?
Okay.
I prefer that.
Would say this is a recommendation from you.
Yeah, I've watched 3, and I still want to watch more. So it's done the pass 3 watches rule.
Yeah.
So it's a yes from me.
Excellent. So you got to episode 4. That's the rule. It's you can get to episode 4, and you can see either potential that has yet to be played out, or you've enjoyed it so far, then it sticks.
Well, yeah, there was the scene where they're trying to lure a drug dealer into a house that they're trying to sell, but the person is trying to sell the house for far too much money. It's been on the market for so long and empty at the end of the street. And as soon as they've opened the door, they've put plastic all over the place, haven't they? And they've went,
turned it into a kill room.
It's turned it into a kill room. That's Dexter. And they've answered the door in plastic overalls, and he's going, and the bloke's there like, what's going on? Oh, we're decorating. Yeah, that's what we're doing.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, funny.
All right. I want to talk about my phone now. I went out yesterday while Nige, my wife, and my son and his son did the Gung Ho event in Windsor. And I decided to go and get a new phone. So I popped out into Woking and I went to Stanger originally, and then I went to Woking and tried to get a new phone. I wanted the new Google Pixel XL2 with 128 gigs. So I went into the shop and said, right, what can you do for me? And they showed me this brilliant deal where it had like 8 gigs worth of data, £35 a month, £200 upfront cost. And it's fantastic. These are at Carphone Warehouse. Great, I'll have it. Signed up. When are you going to sign up for it? We have none in stock. It's like, shit. Have you got any on warehouse and you can send it to me on Monday? Yeah, what's this? No, we have none in the warehouse either. I was like, shit, okay. So I went, okay, I'll go over to EE, which is my provider, and I went to them. And they, fucking hell, they couldn't price up anything. I felt really sorry for the poor person who sat with me when they offered me the same deal for £48 a month, which kind of pissed me off no end. So long and short of it is I managed to get hold of a 64 gig version of the phone, which I didn't want. I wanted that 128 gig, so I had lots of space on there. So I got a 64 gig version, and I started playing around with it. And the way I describe this phone is really competent, which is a weird way to describe a product. This product is really competent. It just does everything it's supposed to. And the only other phone I've ever described like that was my iPhone 4. Before they started fucking around too much with things. I think they started fucking around when they got to the iPhone 4. But I would describe that phone as really competent, along with my Xperia Z1 was another really competent phone.
But here's the question for you, because you made a comment there. I would argue that the actual iPhone hardware hasn't changed dramatically. The software has. Is it the same with this phone? Is it just that it runs Android really well?
Yeah, I think it is the case of it runs Android really well. Because if you take my phone and you compare the specs against Nigel's phone, his specs are fucking vastly higher than mine. But because I've got Google looking after my operating system, my phone functions vastly better than his because Google know what they're doing with their own hardware and their own software. And the camera, really good. I'm really impressed with the camera. It's got like an 8 megapixel front facing camera. Front facing camera, and I think it might be 12 megapixel rear facing camera. It does the whole thing with takes a second picture and blurs the background. Does a good job with that. It has a squeeze function on it where if you squeeze the bottom, I showed you this because it's really weird because you squeeze it. And it has like a little motor in that gives you a buzz to give you feedback to say that you've squeezed it. You can give the impression that you're popping it out of the frame, but you're not popping it out of the frame. The Google Assistant works really well, but I had the same Google Assistant on my previous phone, so that's no biggie. Android Oreo, it seems really different, but it's not. It's just they've kind of rearranged the kind of bits on it. But this phone it's nice. Really, it's weird because I'm not ecstatically. Oh my god, this is the greatest phone I've ever used. And a lot of people who I've watched who've reviewed the phone turned around and said they picked up the phone, they weren't wowed by the phone, but they just kept on using it afterwards.
But is that not the story of all phones now in general? Because I mean, I don't know. I come from the iPhone background, as you know, but I for years have not been awed by the phone. But you know. The phones. I mean, the 7 Plus was a good phone. I decided I quite liked the plus size phone, and now we'll never go back. But I was never sort of uberly awed by it. It did everything my phone did previously, and I think that's the story across the board now. I mean, I've got an iPhone 8. I wouldn't go for a 10, and I will hold out as much as I can with this 8 because I cannot stand the fucking dip.
Do you want to hear something funny? Fucking Android manufacturers. A OnePlus 6T has a notch in it. The new Honor and Huawei have the fucking notch in it. I don't think they realised... Because the other thing too is it has a notch on it and it still has the fucking bezel around the outside. Yeah. The Samsung got rid of the bezel by having it bowed at the end, which makes it look nice. But the bezel makes it look stupid. It makes it look like a kid's toy. It
does, and I agree with you. I mean, there's a company here called Vivo who make an iPhone 10 clone, and they've put the notch in it. You just like, you look at the Samsung, you go, actually, the way the Samsung does it is it's just nicer implemented. But I haven't been awed by any phone really. As long as it works, I don't care. I mean, my iPhone 8 is a good phone. It works. The battery life on it is way better than the 7. I've noticed that. The camera is better. But not like, ooh, and there's nothing else on it. But then what really can you get out of a phone these days? I mean, it's all about the software. And unfortunately with Apple, as iOS has sort of matured, it's got more complicated and more buggy. I mean, so much so that Apple put that advert out for the iPhone 10 the other week and it had a bug in it. Have you seen this? Have you heard about this?
No, I haven't heard about it.
They put an iPhone 10 advert out, and there's a brief shot, and some fucking, I mean, literally, it's only a second, but some arsehole was obviously fucking slowed down the entire Apple video, and they put, when a text message is received, the text, there's an effect where the box expands, so you get the header, and then it expands to preview the message. The trouble is, in iOS 11, the text appears before the box expands, so you get the text without the box, and that's in the advert, or was. Apple have now corrected it since some bright spark spotted it. But yeah, they actually put out a video with a bug.
Oh dear.
But I've heard some good things about the Pixel 2. I've heard it's a robust, decent phone. Is it better than your Sony? Because you've been a Sony man for years, haven't you?
Well, I got the Z1, and the Z1 was a brilliant phone. Again, it did everything that it should do, and it was waterproof too. And then they got the Z5, where they kind of started. I think they started fucking cheaping out and stuff. But my Z5 was a good phone, but it had some problem with the Bluetooth driver on it, which means that I couldn't use I've got a Bluetooth headset, and it's got a microphone in it. And people would phone me up, and I'd have to reject it because I couldn't fucking speak to them. Because it'd be like it's like Nige here and my wife one day phoned me when I was trying to do a marathon session at the gym to get to 7 fucking kilometers. Yeah, because I've got no stamina, so I thought I'd build myself up to like fucking 7 kilometers. And both Nige and the woman phoned me up, and I can't answer because the headset's microphone didn't work. Yeah, so the first thing I did, I tried it out. I phoned Nige up with the headset on. I go, Nige, can you hear me? He went, yeah, I can hear you fine. It's the Bluetooth driver that's fucking up. And that was annoying because before then, it was a Sony product with a Sony phone. It would have just worked. But they I think the problem with Sony is they need to realize that they only need to do 3 grades of phone and don't step any further outside those 3 grades of phone. You do your fucking entry-level phone, your mid-tier phone, and your higher-tier phone, yeah? And just stick to those 3 phones, and that should cover them. But they started fucking around with all these other models, which means you've got to support all these other models, and because you're supporting all these other models, things don't happen. So, yeah, you know these things. Anything else? Anyone else say anything about phones before we move on to Matt Smith and his massive wedge? Sorry.
Well, I've got a Razer mobile.
I thought you just said I've got a Razer. Yeah, you need a shave, mate. You're looking a bit,
bit raggedy. Yeah. No, I've got a Razer mobile, the one that came out back in November, and I had to replace the first one I got within a week because the screen was having issues. I think it was a memory issue because one half was staying and the top half was moving along with whatever was being shown.
Yeah.
So that went back straight away. The replacement phone I've got is okay. However, once a week I have to restart my mobile phone. I have to restart it because things start to slow down and crash and stops responding. And it's like the memory doesn't. They haven't set it up so the mobile will refresh or clear out old stuff.
Yeah,
automatically.
Have you got Oreo on there? Because I've got Oreo on my one, and it's got things to sit there and say, "Hang on a second, you should close this bloody thing down because it's chewed up memory space." So
I've no idea.
That's been a feature of Android for quite a while.
Or it seems to be better on Oreo than it is on thingy because it's the messaging. It's a bit more proactive. The other ones you have to kind of like dip into the background and check.
Yes, true. It didn't give you notifications.
But you can pop into the power settings and it will show you what's draining what and for how long and give you some details on it that way. So on the Oreo one, it now turns around and says this one's draining battery.
I don't know.
I've got
7.11.
Yeah, it's not Oreo. That's I can't fucking remember what it is. It's whatever was before Oreo. No, Kit Kat's 5.
I don't know.
Kit Kat's 5. Jelly Bean, I think it was 6, and I can't remember what 7 is.
Because they haven't written it on here. But it's other than that, I find it's okay. It's got a brilliant pair of speakers on it, so I can watch. I can binge watch on Netflix or Amazon Video.
I can see you on a crowded train into London watching an episode of something with the fucking speakers blaring. Everyone's just looking at you because, well, you just lean over my shoulder if you want to watch. What's the problem?
Yeah. And yes, you bring up a good point. So I can't obviously charge my phone and listen to something at the same time. I can do one or the other because it's got the singular port.
I've got that now, but I've got wireless. I before I knew this was coming, I started moving over to using wireless headphones to try and get around it. So I had 2 pairs of Sony headphones, which I think I spent a princely sum of £50 in total, Keith. £50 in total. How much did you spend on your headphones? Was it £290 we said, was it? £280 on headphones?
2 pairs, not one. It's just
2 pairs.
2 pairs.
Hang on,
so over
no.
£100 each.
I spent 50 quid. Hang on, I spent 50 quid, got 2 pairs. Sony ones, really nice ones. Sounds brilliant on them. Yeah. And you spent £290.
Yeah.
Because it had the word Beats written on it.
No, I bought 1 pair of Beats, and I bought 1 pair of AirPods or whatever they're fucking called.
Yeah.
And from a convenience point of view, they're great. From an expensive point of view, they are overpriced.
Yeah, that's the story of Apple. It's really good. It's overpriced.
But the
'Cause
the W1 chip in them, and the fact that they are immediately available on all your devices is very convenient.
Okay.
I like that, but you pay through the nose for it.
Okay. All right. So my Google Pixel, it's not remarkable, but it works nicely. That's the way of describing it.
I would say though, no phone is really that remarkable these days. I mean, I think the new Samsung S9 has some interesting features, like being able to switch the f-stop on a phone from 1.4 to 2.2. So it has you can change the size of the aperture on a phone. Now that's a first, but that's about the only remarkable thing about it.
I was going to say, when they find out the batteries fucking explode, well,
I mean, it's quite interesting because, of course, people immediately do comparisons with the iPhone 10, and like any fucking phone and camera, depending on the conditions, either one of them comes out on top. I would say some. The S9 does some things better than the 10, and the 10 does other things better.
The camera tests I've seen, the Google Pixel 2 came out on top over all of them.
Yes, it did. It was meant to be better than the 10.
But it was all software based, not hardware based, which was weird.
Yeah.
But,
yeah.
Okay. Just a thing to move before we move into our next thing. Apparently, the Spring Creators update for Windows 10 is going to include this short range Wi-Fi burst to send files from one machine to another. So when your laptop's in proximity to someone else's laptop, you can send a file directly to a laptop without a Wi-Fi network. Sounds interesting. No idea if it's going to work.
It's been on Macs for years.
What, short range? But where is it on Mac?
AirDrop. That's what AirDrop is.
AirDrop?
Yeah.
Seriously? Because it doesn't fucking work on mine.
It does if you have another Apple device. It only works between Apple devices. But it does work.
I did have an iPad. Okay, you and Matt Smith, you were talking about this massive wedge and how you admired it.
I want to have a talk about this because this pisses me off, because this is leftist wankers and feminists jumping on something that actually is far more intricate. And it really pissed me off when I saw somebody start up a petition online for Matt Smith to donate what the extra money he was paid over the actress that played the Queen to a charity. Right. Now, correct me if I'm wrong. It has always been the practice of Hollywood and any TV production company, with the exception of the BBC, because we'll talk about the BBC in a minute, that when you're a big star, you get paid more money. So, for instance, Robert Downey Jr. gets paid a shit ton of money for every Marvel movie he stars in, right? Because he is a big star. He is arguably a much bigger star than, say, the guy that plays Spider-Man. So, naturally, he got paid more money for being in Spider-Man than the guy that played Spider-Man, because he's the bigger star. Matt Smith is a bigger star than Claire Foy, who is a very well-known actress in Britain, because she's been in some quite high-profile drama, but internationally, she is not well-known. Matt Smith arguably took Doctor Who to international greatness. It was him that launched it on the international stage. Therefore, he's a very well-known actor. Seeming as Netflix is in effect a commercial network. It is. In order to make these programs, they have to get subscribers and they have to attract subscribers to their network. So they put big stars in. So Matt Smith naturally got paid more money than the actress playing the Queen because he's a bigger star. What's the fucking problem? Loads of people have jumped on the bandwagon. You've got the producers apologising because it's showing, that men are paid more money. It's bollocks. Because Hollywood and any TV has always worked like this. It has nothing to do with men being paid more than women. Absolutely nothing. He's a bigger, more well-known star than Claire Foy. Now, if you came to me and said, you look at the movie, what was it called? The Passenger, with Jennifer Lawrence and Chris Pratt.
I was going to use that as an example, you bastard.
Yeah. If, in this case, that Chris Pratt was paid more money than Jennifer Lawrence, that is, a discrepancy. But they weren't. I believe they were both paid the same.
Hang on a second. No. Jennifer Lawrence was paid more than Chris Pratt. And that bugs me because Chris Pratt was a bigger fucking star.
No, they're arguably about the same.
No, hang on. No. Chris Pratt is a bigger star, full stop, yeah? Jennifer Lawrence has gone downhill since the last X-Men film that she was in. All right? None of her films have made any huge sums of money. All right? Where Chris Pratt has been the opposite. It's gone up for him. Now, the thing with that is when they signed on to do the movie, it was the other way around. So Chris Pratt, even though he did more acting, had more screen time, more lines, got paid less because at the time he signed on, he was a smaller star than Jennifer Lawrence. But Jennifer Lawrence now has waned.
I would argue that they should have made about the same money. I mean, it's different with the gender pay discrepancies at the BBC. There is an argument for that because the BBC is not a commercial station and therefore it shouldn't make decisions based upon how big the star is because it is not ratings driven.
Did you hear? Hang on. Did you hear about the results from the independent inquiry to that?
No, I didn't.
Found out that more men were being underpaid than more women.
That's potentially true, but there were definite gender things. You look at some of the newsreaders and they're all doing about the same hours on TV, and yet the women are paid less in some cases. There is definitely a gender pay problem at the BBC. That whether it's as big as some of the left papers would make you believe, I don't think so. But there is gender issues. But when it comes to the case of The Crown, it is not a gender pay problem. It is the fact that Matt Smith is a bigger, more well-known star. The fact that he's a man has nothing to do with it. And this fucking idiot that started this petition saying Matt Smith needs to give some of his money to the thing, fuck off, because you wouldn't do it. Whoever you are, I don't know who you are, but I bet if somebody told you to donate some of your pay, you'd tell them to fuck off, like anybody would. And the fact is that most of these stars don't know what their colleagues are paid. And it's their agents that do the deal. So if anybody should be having a go at anybody, have a go at Claire Foy's agent, because she clearly should have, or he should have clearly held out for more money if you have that much of a problem with it. Because half the time, the stars don't even negotiate their pay. It goes through their agent.
Yeah.
And
no, I agree with you, because it's a case, it's merit-based economy.
I can't believe the fucking producers apologised. I would have said, fuck off. I hate the fact that we live in a world where we have to apologise for not doing anything wrong.
Trust me, mate, when I've finished with you, you're going to go, it's a lot worse than you think.
All right.
All right. Okay, you finished?
Well, I just want. Do you have a view on it?
Well, my view goes like this: if someone's worth the money, you pay the money. There's an expression. You think it's expensive to hire a professional, hire an amateur to do the same fucking job, and see how much it costs you.
Had she been, you're right. Had she been in a third series or even a second series, maybe her agent should have said, "Look, she's the star of the show. She's the one that's bringing in. She should get higher pay." And then you renegotiate the pay. That's what happens a lot. But Matt Smith was a big star coming into this, so he gets paid more money.
He brought attention to it, which he couldn't bring.
No,
seriously.
Yeah, that's right.
Because people who watch Claire Foy and other things aren't Netflix subscribers. Yeah, but people who watch Doctor Who are odds on they subscribe to Netflix.
Yeah,
because they're probably more tech savvy. Yeah, I'm with you on that one. It is that simple.
Here's the thing, Olivia.
You had to Google her.
Yeah, no, you're right. Olivia Colman is taking over as the role of the Queen, and it is rumoured that Hugh Laurie is taking over the role of Philip. Now,
which means that he'd get paid more.
Hugh Laurie will probably end up getting paid more money because although Olivia Colman is a fantastic actress and I love her to bits,
see the film T-Rex.
She's only
if you want to see her at her best,
or the Night Watchman.
No, the T-Rex, the one by Paddy McShane, really good.
But she isn't that well known internationally, whereas Hugh Laurie is a fucking huge star in the States because he was in one of the biggest rating hits ever, which was House. Everybody knows who he is. So again, he is going to bring in the American viewers, and whether we like this or not, American viewers make up a lot of Netflix's thing of The Crown. So again, he should probably end up getting paid more money. It is again nothing to do with gender.
It isn't. People don't understand that because what it is they don't understand the difference between equity and equality. Equality is equality of opportunities, yeah? And equity is equality of outcomes.
Yeah.
And people want equity. Well, equity is not fair because equity will hold back people who can do things, yeah? You don't want to sit there and stop Elon Musk from fucking launching rockets and his fucking motors into space, yeah? Because he's not a woman, yeah?
Yeah.
Oh, by the way, Elon Musk deleted his Facebook pages for Tesla and SpaceX.
Yep.
And said fuck you to Mark Zuckerberg.
I tell you what,
in trouble.
Why you have mentioned that? Do you guys watch Homeland? Have you ever watched Homeland? Oh my god!
I've seen the first season.
Homeland season 7. They couldn't have got this more correct. They obviously started filming this a few months ago, but it's exactly about this Facebook data stuff and fake news and everything, and it's all about Russians basically trying to undermine the US. It's so freakily spot on at the moment. It couldn't be more correct. If you haven't watched Homeland, it's fucking fantastic this season.
Keith, there's a journalist online. His name's Tim Paul. Yeah, he does really good journalism because what he does is he just literally finds facts and presents them. So when you talk about Russia using Facebook to manipulate the US elections, it was a complete lie. Because when he checked into it and he checked, they spent, I think it was like $800,000 on adverts for RT, the news organization. Yeah, another company from Qatar spent about, I think it was $1.5 million on adverts for it. But when he went into the thing to check what the Russians were spending their money on, it wasn't on the Donald Trump stuff. It was on things like Black Lives Matter and loads of other things. Basically, they were advertising stuff that would disrupt the thingy, but nothing to do with the election.
Oh no, this is the Homeland story isn't to do with an election. It isn't a parody of Trump or anything. It's to undermine the United States government, which it's Russia is the bad guys in it. But if you've never watched it, Homeland season 7 is brilliant. It's freaky how close it is to what the Cambridge Analytica and all of this kind of stuff.
The thing you have to understand about Cambridge Analytica and all that thing is, it goes like this, yeah? When you're offered a service on the internet and it is free, you are the product.
Yes.
You are what's causing them to make money. Facebook didn't make fucking billions upon billions upon billions of dollars just because they wanted you to connect with your friends. They are selling your data to whoever fucking pays for it, be it Cambridge Analytica, the NSA, the fucking US government, the UK government, the Australian government, the European Parliament, anybody. They are buying that data and using that data. You surrender that right by agreeing to Facebook's terms and services, yeah? And that is the outcome of it. And people used it. And the thing that gets me is Barack Obama used Facebook in exactly the same way.
Yes.
No one had a problem with it.
Every
Cambridge
politician
Analytica
does.
did it exactly the same way. That's what it's there for. If you do not like it, kill your Facebook account, yeah? Delete Facebook. Do what Elon Musk did. Take your shit off Facebook. I don't like Facebook. I want to get rid of it. The problem is that I have to put the fucking podcast out on Facebook so people can find it. I don't want to do that. I would have deleted my Facebook account if I hadn't have had to do that.
I agree.
I deleted my Twitter account because I had enough of my fucking Twitter account, yeah? And because it's one of those things to stop using it and it needs to go away and I want it deleted and forgotten. And the same thing with the old with Facebook too. If you're worried about it, don't give it away.
I did
Google
love
as an
your
example.
Twitter handle, though. I did love your Twitter handle.
What, add sheep noodles?
It's brilliant.
Yeah.
But no, you're right. Facebook. I wrote a blog years ago called "Facebook: The Destroyer of All Worlds," and it's absolutely fucking true. It's freakily. But anyway, we should move on. What's next on the list?
I watched a fantastic Korean film called The Train from Busan, or The Train to Busan. Sorry. It was an absolutely brilliant film about zombies. It starts off and it's nice and quiet, and there's some guy driving along, and he gets to a checkpoint. There's a guy covered in head to toe in shit, and he's like, kind of, oh, there's been a chemical spill. Oh, fair enough. Yeah. And then he's sitting there fiddling around the radio, hits a deer, turns around, the deer's a fucking zombie when he leaves. Yeah. Anyway, cuts away from that because that's just a kind of setup for the whole feeling of it. It's not silly. Yeah, I described it as silly, but it's not silly. It gets a bit emotional towards the end.
So, there's no fat blokes running over any zombies and then sort of looking out the window going, "You all right?"
No, I was expecting that, to be honest with you.
I fucking love that scene.
But this is the thing: is in the Train to Busan, the zombies they're quick to infect. And the infection takes hold within like 30 seconds. So none of this Carl Walking Dead bullshit for 2 fucking years. Well, it felt like 2 years, yeah?
Yeah.
For the infection to take place. It literally, you buy it, you've probably got about 30 seconds to 5 minutes max before it does. It's all down to what the fuck's going on.
Without wishing
sorry.
Sorry.
What was that film with the running zombies?
28 days later.
No.
Yes.
No.
It's like that.
It's not that. You're
That was
talking
very
about
quick to turn.
World War Z.
World War Z. No,
That was
28 days
were-
later did it first. 28 days
28
later did
days
it
Were they,
later.
first.
running,
Did it
were they
first.
running zombies in that?
Yeah.
They were rage victims, technically.
Rage victims. They're not
But
zombies, but they looked it.
By the way,
Yeah.
just say, did you appreciate my intro last week for your Walking Dead thing? Because you were moaning about Carl, and it took a lot of effort to make that. I thought it was brilliant.
Well, pat yourself on the back later. We've got a podcast to finish off, all right? Anyway, the film
I'm going to have to. You
centers
two
around...
fuckers never do.
Right, shut up, you tart. Anyway, the film focuses around this guy who's a hedge fund manager, and he spends all his time at work, doesn't spend any time with his kid. So he's got the kid on her birthday, and he's taking her to Busan, and he's taking the train, and he's on the train, and there's a load of school kids that have come on there, there's a politician on there, and some other people have got on there. And as they're leaving, all of a sudden a fucking infection hits the station, and these bastards are determined to get on the sodding train. He meets a pregnant woman and her husband, and they kind of team up to try and take down the zombies. And you've got this politician who's an absolute cunt, yeah? Done really well. It doesn't speak a word of English, but I knew that he was a bastard, and everyone knew he was a bastard because the guy did a really fucking good job at it, yeah? Towards the end, he does some really shitty things. He gets this girl, this high school girl, who managed to survive like all the way up from like, I think it's 2 stations out from where they're supposed to get to, yeah? And he throws her in front of a fucking zombie so he can escape. Absolute bastard. He literally just grabs her and lobs her in front of the fucking zombie and runs off. The whole film is fantastic.
Savage.
It's on Amazon Prime at the moment, and if it's not on Amazon Prime, go fucking buy it because it is really good. It gets towards the end, yeah, and people are dying off left, right, and centre, and it gets down to the last couple of survivors, and it is outside Busan, and you've got the military, yeah, and they're walking through this tunnel, and the military guy goes, "We've got 2 people coming through the tunnel." I've just ruined how many people survive now. 2 people out of about fucking 70, which started off at the beginning, yeah. And the guy turns around and goes, "Can you identify if they're zombies or not?" And he turns around and goes, "No." He turns around and goes, "Be safe, shoot them." And you're like, shit. Yeah, to get through that and then to get shot by the military. I won't tell you what happens, though.
Was that not telling
Watch
us
the
what
film.
happened?
No, because there's more to it than that. Watch it. I recommend you watch it. If you like The Walking Dead, Nigel should probably get more out of it than Keith because he's not a zombie fan. If you've been watching The Walking Dead...
No, I'm a zombie fan. I am a zombie fan.
Yeah.
I have seen a lot of zombie films. I've probably seen more than you think I have. I run hot and cold with The Walking Dead. I run hot and cold with The Walking Dead.
All right. Okay, right, anyway. if you've been watching The Walking Dead and you feel that it didn't have enough fucking zombies in it, go see how they deal with zombies in Korea. Fucking brilliant. I've really enjoyed it. I watched it, and the thing is, it's one of those films that you put on at like 10 to 11 at night. You start watching it, it gets to 12, you're like, I've got to go to bed. I've got to go to bed for tomorrow. And you're like, oh, why did I put this on? I didn't think it'd be any good. It turned out it's fucking fantastic.
So this one isn't. This is a Korean film, but it's not in English. It's got subtitles.
Subtitles, yeah. And there's some great ones where it's like he gets a phone call and the subtitle comes up, goes ex-wife. Things like that. It says ex-wife, and it's like kind of it's short and to the point. We understand what's going on.
Is it Asian? Is it Asian subtitled into English? Because I tell you, I've gone on seeing some Thai movies with my wife because she comes along with me and watches a lot of English spoken movies, so it's only fair. Some of the subtitle translations are so funny. The trouble is, I'm the only fucker in the cinema that speaks English, right? And I read these and I burst out laughing. No other fuckers laughing because it's not funny in Thai. It's fucking hilarious in English.
The subtitles are really well done. So
I mean, I saw one the other day, and no word of a lie, right? There's this fat Thai copper and this thin copper, and the thin copper turns around and insults the Thai, the fat guy, and the subtitle was "Shut up, you fat cunt." I was pissing myself laughing because it was written "Shut up, you fat cunt." Nobody else thought this was funny. And then my wife is looking at me going, "Why are you laughing?" I'm going, "Because of what's written." And I'm the only one in there. And all these Thai people are just looking at the crazy foreigner who's pissing himself laughing. But it was funny.
Okay. Right, Keith, you've got 10 minutes to cover Krypton and your drone talk.
Are you guys, Gareth, are you interested in watching the Superman prequel?
I'm going to be honest, I saw the trailer and I went, no.
You would be
It's
correct.
filmed in Ireland.
Oh, there's a lot of English people in it. In fact, most of the actors in it are British. If I told you it had Brainiac in it.
Yes, I heard that it's got Brainiac in it. I heard that there's some guy from Earth who managed to travel back in time and land in Krypton to warn Kal-El's grandfather that Brainiac is coming to take Kandor.
Do you want to know who the guy travelling back is?
I can't remember his name. Who is he?
Adam Savage.
As in the guy from Mythbusters?
No, as in the DC character that... But yeah. You're meant to know who Adam Savage is.
It took me a second there to figure out who it was.
Nigel won't have a fucking clue who it is, but you should know who it is because you know all about DC lore and everything.
I don't know who Adam Savage is. It's Vandal Savage's son. I don't know. I really don't know who. I'm more au fait with Marvel stuff. You know,
he's one of the more obscure DC characters, but he's in Superman lore.
I genuinely don't know who he is. I have to say.
There's apparently an Adam Savage in The Expanse.
Yes, that is Adam Savage, actual Adam Savage in The Expanse. He gets killed at the end of season 2.
Yeah. When
the proto-molecule takes apart the ship that is trying to scan the bit of the bomb.
Anyway, I like... They've spent a shit ton of money on it. Put it this way. Their version of Krypton looks way, way better than Supergirl. Go on, what?
I'm sorry, Keith. I've done a quick Google search for Adam Savage and Superman. And the very top search result is how does Superman shave? Adam Savage from Mythbusters checks this out.
Told you.
I don't believe you've got the right name.
I think it is Adam Savage. It's Savage. It is Adam Savage. Yeah, it is.
Is it Vandal Savage?
No, Vandal Savage is the guy who gets affected with the meteorite with the nth metal in, which they reckon in I think it's Dark Knight Metal, is responsible for giving all the metahumans their powers. They have traces of this metal in their biology, and when they get exposed to like dark matter or the Speed Force or electricity, it causes their body to react and give them superpowers. And it was also something that's supposed to help the Joker keep coming back to life every time Batman beat him half to death. See, I do know. I don't know everything. Well, the interesting
Oh no,
bits
not
I know.
Savage. Adam Strange. Sorry. Adam
Okay,
Strange.
that's fine. Adam Savage is the guy from MythBusters. So
Yes. Sorry.
That's myth busted then, isn't it?
Yes.
Busted.
Adam Strange. Sorry. I know who. Yeah. Sorry, it's Strange, not Savage. Anyway, their version of Krypton looks a million times better than Supergirl's. I mean, that is the one criticism of Supergirl. Well, among millions of them, but their fucking effects. And every time they show Krypton, it looks gack. This looks really good. But I don't see the point in it. I don't get the need for it. It's yet another comic book series that we didn't really ask for, and it doesn't really do anything. There's no superpowers in it. It's just set on Krypton. It's a bunch of aliens fighting, effectively.
Yeah, I think part of it is the fact that Superman's like 60th or 70th anniversary is part of it, because they did a big documentary on the Sci-Fi Channel, and this, I think, was the bit that topped off at the end. I don't know, it might work out. It might be really good. I can't say I'm interested in it. I've still got to watch fucking Game of Thrones.
They're doing
Mad Men.
We told you can watch the last 5 minutes of every episode and you'll know what's going on.
And
the
you've
one
got
thing
a year
they
to
keep
do so.
They keep doing us what Smallville did, and every time you see the House of L logo or the Superman logo, you get the Richard Donner, John Williams Superman overture bit playing subtly. Yeah, you get that a lot through it, and they keep doing it, and you think, it kind of brings back memories of your childhood, the original movies, but it's not. There's a lot of cliches in it. There's a lot of I'll watch.
Bollocks.
Yeah, I'll watch the first 4 episodes because it hasn't got me hooked. But it's the fact that they're all English accents and not American accents, so it's quite interesting. And yeah, you're right. It's not filmed in the States because there's just too many fucking British actors.
It's filmed in Ireland.
Yeah, well, they're trying to do the Game of Thrones on Krypton.
I think they're probably using the Game of Thrones set. They probably went to them and said, look, because Game of Thrones isn't filming this year, we'll do it at half price. But you got to fuck off when Game of Thrones comes back, okay?
What?
That might be the case. You don't know. If all of a sudden the second series is dramatically different, yeah, in production, and there's American actors and Canadian actors creeping into it, fucking called it. All right? So there's an epic saga that's happening in the world, yeah, of biblical proportions, yeah. It's like the 7 plagues of Egypt. It's Keith and his fucking drone. Go on.
Well, just when we thought it was all over, all right?
We did think it was all over. What have you fucked up now?
Well, I made the bloody mistake of because I'm a member of a few forums and a few Facebook groups, and there was a news thing putting out Mavic Air releases 3rd set of firmware. And I read it, and I was like, why did I read this? Because the very final item, I mean, they made a specific thing for Thailand, which was the 2.4 and 5.8 frequencies, because DJI claimed that 5.8 frequency was blocked in Thailand, but all of their previous drones had it enabled. They then backtracked and said, oh, Thailand has changed the law, and now you can have it. And I was like, no, you just fucked up, because anybody that lives in Thailand, knows anything about Thailand, knows it takes them 5 years to pass any fucking law, and then it's a miracle if it gets passed in the fucking first place, because it's Thailand. So that was bollocks. But anyway, I told you the problem in the first place was the thing was smashing into the ground, right? And I made these videos.
Yeah, that's the altimeter problem with the barometer readings on it, so it couldn't get the right air pressure, so it didn't have the ground.
DJI claimed that there was nothing wrong with the drone when we sent it back, and then I went and got another one and tested it, and it did the same thing. Turns out it was a software problem, and they fixed it in that set of fucking firmware, and never told me about it. And had they told me, had they said, yeah, it's a software problem, I would have gone, yeah, it's a new product, I'll wait for the firmware. But they didn't. Even after showing them the videos, they still sort of tried to imply it was a hardware problem. So in other words, DJI have known about this for over a fucking month, and all this fucking hassle, the extra money I spent buying a drone that was working, was all for fucking nothing.
Okay. Just a quick one. I've just realised I promised myself I'd get all your drone stuff and put it together. So I got the first part from a couple of weeks back, and the next part from last week, and this part from the week for this week. Yeah, I know what we're going to call it now. Game of Drones. I don't know why I didn't think of it fucking earlier. It's obvious.
It's the last item on the list of firmware, and it was to prevent the drone from smashing into ground. And not once in all the conversations, all the text chats, all of the emails, have DJI ever said, "Yeah, we're aware of the problem, and it is a software glitch, and we'll get it fixed." And that's all they had to say 7 weeks ago. And had they said that, everything would have been sweet. I would have waited. I would have known they were bringing a firmware update, and I would have been happy the day it came because it fixed the problem. Because now the Mavic Air is a bloody good product.
Oh, okay, cool. Keys, shiny keys, Keith, shiny keys. Come back to me.
The sun's getting awful low.
The sun's getting really low, Keith. I don't have to advertise athlete's foot spray to distract you. Okay. All right. So we're going to wrap this up. But for those who are going to be interested in listening to the political side of the stuff that I'm going to bring up, please carry on. As I said, I know when we talk politics, it tends to be a bit polarizing. So please, if you're not interested in, don't listen. I'm not going to hold it against you.
We're inserting it in a Marvel's post-credit sting.
Yeah. Yeah, it's going to be like a post-credit string from Marvel's. I just realised my fucking microphone's dropped down, so it probably dropped in volume. Okay, so it's goodbye from me.
It's goodbye from me.
It's goodbye from me.
I wish you'd said it was goodbye from him. Lane.
Latest potatoes.
Thanks for downloading the Monkey Nut Punch podcast. You can follow us on Twitter @Monkey Nut Punch. You can also find us on Facebook, facebook.com/monkeynutpunch. Okay, guys, thank you for listening to this. As I said, if this is not your cup of tea, please just switch it off and disregard it. Now, I'm an advocate for freedom of speech and expression, and I think it's very important, especially in today's culture where we can be artists a lot easier than we could in previous cultures throughout history. And it's important to me. Now, I understand that there are certain limits on free speech, and I will accept the following limits when it comes to free speech. First one being lying. Yep, you have a freedom of speech, but if you lie, you need to be called out and dealt with. The second one is call to action. If you're using your free speech to attack someone, be it physically, emotionally, or anything like that, I put a caveat on that. Then there's comedy, which should be an exception, where you can take the piss out of people. Think of John Cleese's Life of Brian and all the shit that they went through for putting through Life of Brian, yeah? And I believe that you should be able to be funny. Now, earlier this week, a gentleman by the name of Marcus Meechan, also known as Count Dankula, was prosecuted under the Communication Guideline Act without option for trial by jury, which kind of pissed me off, in a Scottish court for
inciting was it a video, a grossly offensive video, and the video was of him teaching his girlfriend's pet pug to do a Nazi salute and to react to gas the Jews, because he found the pug extremely cute, which was really annoying. So he thought he would turn it into the nastiest thing possible, being a Nazi. Now, the Scottish police prosecuted him for this. It took 2 years for the court case to go through, which is twice as long as the fucking Nuremberg trials. And I'd also like to point out, when the Nazi party got in power in Germany, they tried to prosecute a Finnish man for teaching his dog to do the Nazi salute. But the difference between the Scottish Scottish courts and the Nazi courts were, the Nazi courts, the guy was found not guilty, where we have become overly fucking sensitive. Now, I find this worrying for myself, because not being able to express myself freely, especially on the podcast, we make the stupid joke at the beginning about fucking genders, be it sea captain, helicopters, or fucking anything, yeah? And I take the piss out of my friends, which is playful. It's not designed to intimidate or upset them. It's supposed to shock them, to see if I can come up with something funny each week to get a rise from them. But for the first time forever, as far as I know, I've been ashamed to call myself British, because we have now had an attack on comedy and of free speech. And my worry next is, if they're going to attack comedy, the next thing they will attack is your ability to complain about stuff. And as soon as that disappears, we as a nation are fucked. Now, other nations have done similar things. There are Human Rights Commission in Ontario in Canada, and there are Facebook things with Germany. There's nothing with France I've heard of, actually. There may be something with France, but they probably just don't care. But this attack and this kind of ability to not express yourself and not have certain conversations that may be awkward to have is not good. And I am, for the first time, scared of my government. And I've never been scared of my government. And I am worried, because these podcasts, be it fucking with a small reach, could be taken out of context, could be seen as grossly offensive. And if that's the case, I could be looking up to a year to 6 months in fucking thingy in prison just for making a joke. No one has really fucking stood up to this. There are people online who have sent letters to members of parliament. I'll tell you one thing. The fucking Labour Party in this country are the shittest fucking opposition ever, because they could take this, and go with it and make it a point. And they're not. So I haven't even got competition to go with. They fucking agreed with it. So I can't even vote against the Conservatives, because they are the only ones, they're members of Parliament, who have said anything against it. And I am worried for the first time ever.
Freedom of speech is being curtailed. It's as simple as that. We live in a society now where we are offended by everything. And what people do not realise is, every time you complain about being offended about the smallest thing, you are curtailing your freedom. And it worries me. I have, in the past, don't get me wrong, Britain First is a prime example. You do not have to agree with what they preach. I find it abhorrent and wrong. But we had freedom of speech in the UK, and Facebook deleted their accounts the other week. And I made a comment saying I find that quite concerning, because it's not the action of deleting Britain First. It is the precedent that it sets, because freedom of speech is important, and freedom of speech comes with certain things. There will be people that say things that you do not like, that you do not agree with, that you find offensive. But before you complain, remember, we live in a society where they were free to say that, and you are free to disagree and voice your own opinion. And we are getting more and more in a society where if you do not agree with something, you're wrong. If you voted for Brexit, you're racist. If you voted for Trump, you're racist. And it's bollocks. It is utter bollocks. And what Gareth, Gareth, you have every right to be concerned, because I've been concerned about this for months, and it does concern me. But I like this podcast. I become more and more and more un-PC, and I will say crap, and I don't give a shit. If somebody tries to prosecute me, I will fight it, because I don't care if you're offended.
Just as a point of context, yeah, the judge disregarded all context, saying, because he says clearly at the beginning of the video, not racist, because I don't support the Nazis. I just want to wind up my girlfriend, and I think this is fucking hilarious. And even ends with it too. Yeah, so he put the context in there just in case people would misconstrue it. Now, he had 17 subscribers when he put that video out. He's now got like something like 30,000, and that video's had like 3.4 million views. And 2.4 million views of those are people like me showing it to other people going, is that worth going to fucking prison over? And it's I just don't know what to do, because it's like I can write to my MP and I could write to other MPs, but is it going to get anything done?
It's a bit like that guy that Stephen Fry championed a few years back that threatened to put a bomb under Robin Hood Airport in Birmingham.
Oh, he was fucking joking. Yeah,
and he was prosecuted. It's like, what? We've wasted taxpayers' money when we clearly know that this guy is saying it out of frustration.
Yeah. See, that was taken to the court, and it took 3 appeals, and it was overturned on the 3rd appeal.
Yeah, but how much fucking money was wasted? Even prosecuted. Yeah. And the same with this guy on the video. I know exactly what you're talking about. I've seen the case, and it's fucking ridiculous. I mean, yeah, okay, it's a bit. It could be offensive, that video, but at the end of the day, what somebody finds offensive, somebody else finds funny. It's just ridiculous. I mean, if this guy was saying kill all the Jews and showing active ways of doing it, okay, right? But this guy was doing comedy. You could argue it was in bad taste, but by fucking God, the amount of times that you've seen bad taste comedy, you know, I mean, it reminds me of that Mitch and Webb sketch years ago. I mean, that wouldn't even be able to be shown on TV now, where they were both in burqas and they were doing something. And one says to the other one, do you think we'll get away with this? They'll fight. This is just too offensive. And the other one takes off the burqa, and he's blacked up with white, you know, he looks like a minstrel. And I pissed myself laughing. But that got complaints because people didn't see the point that it was trying to make.
If you look at the entire series of Little Britain, yeah,
precisely,
the entire series of Little Britain, yeah, it's like you've got the transvestite guy going, that's gone, that shit's gone. Then you've got the Andy Warhol and I can't remember Lou, whatever it is, with the disabled guy, yeah, where he's like turning his back and doing stuff that wouldn't be acceptable. None of this stuff would be acceptable. Them blacking up and playing a coffee lady in an airport would be deemed unacceptable.
You mentioned that this. I mean, we talked about this in the first podcast we ever did in the Monkey Nut thing, but one of the reasons that Gareth does what he does at the beginning of each podcast, where he introduces it, and it all started because the Underground decided to stop saying "ladies and gentlemen" on the tube, and because they were heavily lobbied by these gender-neutral people. And me and Gareth basically said, this is fucking ridiculous. Because unless 33% of London is gender fucking neutral, it's ladies and gentlemen. And I never met a gender-neutral person that gets offended by somebody saying ladies and gentlemen on the tube. And it's these presidents that keep saying, there's ladies and gentlemen on the tube. Get used to it. There are not that many fucking gender-neutral people walking around, and if they are getting that fucking offended by it, fuck off. Because it makes me so angry, because it's not that makes me angry. It's the precedent that it sets, that people are so obsessed about not offending anybody that we are losing our freedom because of it.
Do you know who Jordan Peterson is?
No.
Okay, Jordan Peterson is a clinical psychologist who's from Toronto, Canada, and he kind of quit his job and he's started writing books and doing public appearances and stuff. And he had an interview with Kathy Newman, and they were talking about freedom of speech, to which he turns around and says, yeah, but surely you can't offend anyone. And it's like, kind of, how can I explore thought and idea without the risk of anyone offending me? To which he then replied to her, goes, this kind of interview's been rather uncomfortable for me. You've offended me. Yeah? How do you like that? To which she had no reply. And he replied, ha, gotcha, like that. And she couldn't fucking reply to it. And the reason she couldn't reply to it is because you have to risk being offensive in order to think things through. Yes. Now, there are crimes that have happened in this country that have happened because people didn't want to offend other people. And thousands of people have been affected by these crimes. And all I have to do, I just Telford, Rotherham, all these places, yeah, Halifax, where things have gone on because people didn't want to offend anyone, yeah? The symbol for justice wears a blindfold for a fucking good reason. It does not see race, it does not see gender, it just sees what you have done by your actions. Yeah. And I'm a little sick of people saying offended, yeah? And Stephen Fry is right, yeah? If you're offended, so fucking what?
And he's right. We're becoming far too mollycoddled, wrapped up in bubble wrap. Everything that somebody says, we find offensive. For God's sakes, there are so many things that we should be offended by in the world. Stop getting offended by stupid shit, because it is just that, stupid shit. Be offended by things that actually matter in the world. There are thousands upon thousands of people dying in Syria. Get offended by that, right? Get offended by things that matter instead of things that don't.
Here's one thing that you were talking earlier about. You were talking about people standing by their words, yeah? There's a guy called, I think his name's Will McCaskill, and he is responsible for looking into charities and how well charities perform. Because what you don't understand is that you get stopped by people, you don't because you live in Thailand, but if in the UK you get stopped by people who want to make charitable donations, but instead of just wanting a one-off donation, put your change in the pot, that sort of thing, they want you to contribute monthly. And the reason they want you to contribute monthly is that someone is getting paid a large sum of money for running that company. And that money isn't going to the charity, it's going to their fucking wages. Yeah, it's to keep them going year on, yeah? And Will McCaskill had looked at all these charities and he turned around and he said, right, okay, these charities are ineffective, yeah? 20 pence of your pound goes to actual charity. And he's a person who stands by his word that he's given himself a wage, which I think is like £39,500 a year. And he says, right, that's my living wage. I don't need any more money than that. All the money outside of that goes to charity. And because he said that, he made sure that the money that he was giving to charity was going to charities that work. Sorry, this is a fucking detour, but it's all about living up to your word. And he's an example of someone who lived up to their word. Yeah. Just as an example of people, more important fucking things in the world.
We, as I said, we're just getting offended by so much, and it worries me because, I have been accused of being anti-feminist. I've been accused of being all sorts of things because I say things. I want to clear this up because somebody said it to me a few weeks ago who'd listened. It was one of my friends that listened to this podcast. I believe in balance. I believe that everybody, I'm going to sound like a communist, but I'm not. I believe that everybody is equal. It doesn't matter what race you are. It doesn't matter what gender you are. But I believe in a balance. And when you see things like this Me Too campaign, and you see some of these feminists, not all of them, but you see some of them, they don't believe in balance. They want it 100% their way. And if you dare to criticize these people, you are called these names. You are called these things. And it's bollocks. There's a lot of people in Black Lives Matters that are racist. And they are supposedly fighting racism. But they're racist in their own rights. There are a lot of people, feminists, that are sexist. that Nita bloody Sarkozy, you watch her on the thing. She's a sexist. She's not a feminist.
She's a misandrist, is the term.
Well,
She's a misandrist, is the term.
I'm not quite as educated as you, but you know what I mean. And
yeah, I know what you mean.
And it bothers me hugely. And we live in a world now where it scares me. And it's not even the government that worries me. It's people as well. We blame the government, but the government sometimes don't have a choice because there are so many people that boycott them because they're so offended. And it's bollocks. It's like these producers of Netflix that were forced to apologise for doing something that's normal.
Yeah.
And nobody feels that they can come out and say, fuck off. You see, if I was Matt Smith, I would say, fuck off, why don't you give some of your pay? But he can't say that because he'll never be on television again because so many people will be offended. But, you yourself are not going to donate half your pay. It's like people being fucking offended by Trump saying Nigeria is a shithole country. But most people say that because at the end of the day, these people that were so fucking offended, other than Nigerians, and a lot of Nigerians say that Nigeria is a shithole country.
It's a shithole.
But most of these people that were offended by Trump saying it was a shithole country, would you go on holiday to Nigeria? No, you fucking wouldn't. All these fucking gay people that came out and were so offended by Trump for calling it, for fuck's sake, have you read anything about Nigeria and what they do? I saw this.
Okay.
That thing about Trump, the thing that really got to me about that was we all hate upon Trump. Hate upon Trump for the right reasons. But at the end of the day, I'd like to point out this article, that thing about Trump saying it was a shithole country. He said that in the Oval Office in a closed meeting, and it was released by an enemy. Wake up, people. I'm not a Trump supporter. People know I am vehemently anti-Trump. But for fuck's sake.
Okay. Let's let Nige have a go now, and then we'll wrap it up.
Just to provide you a bit of context as to something similar, where people were doing pranks. There's a couple of brothers, they're called the Jalal brothers, back over in Melbourne. And they were dressing up in Arab dress, running up to a group of people in a bus shelter or on a park bench or driving along in a car.
God.
And they, in their Arab dress, would run up to somebody, drop an empty bag, and fucking run. That's causing fucking terror. Because you don't fucking know. They were eventually arrested. They were also driving along in their car in Arab dress, holding AK-47s.
Were they
Fake
videoing
ones.
This?
They were videoing this.
It's for YouTube.
As prank videos. And releasing them on their YouTube channels and stuff. Now, that, in my opinion, is worse than what the bloke did with the pug. It's worse. You're deliberately setting off to scare the shit out of someone to get a reaction so you can deliberately put it on YouTube. Yeah?
Yes, but it's also highlighting something else. And these guys did point that out. It
is a different scenario where they've done a similar thing. They've done basically a shit post video, where he has done it to try and get laughs. These guys have done it to try and get laughs. However, these guys have done it at the detriment of somebody else's fucking quality of life. They've scared the shit out of someone deliberately to get a laugh. They're not in on the joke. It's not some. They may eventually laugh about it down the line, but are they going to trust anyone who's wearing an Arab dress later on? Probably not.
But right? I could say the same thing about the Spanish clown thing with a fucking chainsaw. Have you seen that?
Yeah, I have.
The guy dresses up. That
pisses me off as well.
No, it's on TV.
Would make That would make me terrified.
And there's American shows that do the same thing. And the guys that did these attacks pointed out that most of the attacks in Western countries by Muslims, they're not wearing Arab gear. They're wearing normal, everyday gear.
No, they're not. Yeah, exactly. They're not. That's how they differentiated themselves. And it's a stigma that is currently attached to Middle Eastern countries. And it's unfortunately, they've played on that. And they're doing it in Melbourne. They're doing it in, Australia. So they're actually pulled in front of the judge and in the courts. And they were basically asked to publicly apologise over it. That was their punishment. Publicly apologise.
See, that's an acceptable punishment. Public apology to the people that you scared.
Yeah. So what I'm trying to do is show you two different countries and how they've decided to deal with it.
But hold on a second. This is on the people they've scared, not on the people they've offended. Does that make sense? So if there was a group of people who were representing Arab people who like dressing like that, carrying bags, and they were supposed to apologise to them for being offensive, my thing would be go fuck yourself. Yeah. For the poor people that they almost gave a heart attack to. Yeah. Sorry, didn't mean to scare you that much. We were doing it as part of a prank. Yeah. You're on Candy Canberra, etc., etc.
Although, to be fair, there are a lot of people who take it a little bit further and they go all out saying shit and doing shit to really push someone to their limits. And then they go, oh, look, it's all a fucking prank. Look, there's a camera and shit. I'm surprised these people don't get punched in the face more often. But I'm only highlighting this because of the difference of how the courts have dealt with it.
But that's Australia.
This guy, it's Australia, and they are more progressive than Scotland.
Well, you've supposed
maybe they're less progressive than Scotland.
Australia is one of the least PC countries that you'll still go to. It surprises me what they get away with on daytime TV, even now. But again, actually, being non-PC in this case has proven to be the right way. And you're right to bring this up because there is a balance to things. What we are not saying is that you can do anything you want and you shouldn't be prosecuted. That's wrong. But what we're saying is get a grip and get some context. And where somebody is genuinely preaching hate and calling for death to all the Jews or death to all the Muslims and actively getting people to do that, to incite that kind of hatred, which Gareth eloquently put at the beginning, yes, they should be prosecuted. But this guy trying to get his bloody dog to do a Nazi salute was dicking about. I mean, I tried to get my I used to share a home.
Did you hang on? Did you try and get your dog to do a Nazi salute? Is that what you're about to confess to?
I did. I'm going to admit this. I lived with a Latvian girl for a couple of months, and she had a budgie, and I was trying to get her budgie to say "Das Vidania, motherfucker," because she spoke Russian.
No.
And I was sitting there going "Das Vidania, motherfucker," and I was trying to get this thing, and her mother was greatly offended, which I found more funny. But that's I find some people's offence funny because it's always blown me away why people get so offensive about the word fuck. So many things you should get more offended by.
All right, I think we'll wrap this up because we could be here for a couple of hours. So I'm going to wrap this up and just turn around and say that it's not necessarily a caveat to what I said at the beginning with free speech. Yeah, your ability to express yourself and talk, freely without fear of prosecution or the government coming in should be taken. But you also should understand the following: you also have a right not to listen. Yeah, if you don't want to hear it, you don't have to listen to it, and that's a case that you need to take into account when doing this.
The only thing I can say against that is if someone stood right in front of you, shouting it in your face, and you can't get away from it. That's when you've definitely crossed the line. But hey, I understand what you mean.
But
that would be more a physical thing.
As Gareth said, there is a balance to it, Nigel.
There is a balance to this.
Okay.
There's a
All right.
balance to everything.
Let me just finish it off now. Okay, so thank you for listening to this. I hope it sparks some discussions. If you want to catch us on Twitter, it's at Gaming Face Punch. It's at Monkey Nut Punch. It was at Gaming Face Punch. It's at Monkey Nut Punch. If you want a private DM with us, then by all means, friend us. Tell us that you want to talk. We'll friend you back, and we'll talk over a private DM. Facebook, if you want to leave a message on Facebook, we can't private DM on Facebook because for personal reasons we don't want to give away our personal stuff on that.
We can talk through the page though.
We can talk through, but it shows up publicly though. That's the downside.
DM's,
does it do it through the page?
Facebook.
Okay, well you're a marketing and social media person, so I'll do that. So if you found this interesting, by all means, hit us up. If you have any points that you want to put across, then by all means tell us. Again, I'm sorry for making this political. The idea of our podcast is to have some light-hearted fun and poke jabs at the world of fucking media and silliness.
We are an equal opportunities offender.
Yes, we are an equal opportunities offender. I do love that.
Seth MacFarlane was the one that created that. It's brilliant.
I am sure it was in the 70s, actually. I saw it was
I know it was Seth. I first heard it used when Family Guy ran that episode of Sarah Palin's daughter, and she got on a high fucking horse, and MacFarlane turned around and went, Family Guy is an equal opportunities offender. Boom, boom. Succinct, shut the fuck up.
Okay. Again, thanks for listening. If you want to get in touch, get in touch. If you've listened to this and it has kind of upset you because we've kind of been a bit honest about a few things, I apologise. Didn't want to upset. I don't mean to upset you. I'm not. If I offended you, you can fuck off. If I've upset you, that's a different case because I may have made you worry about things that you wouldn't normally worry about. But thank you for listening. Thank you for taking your time, and we will catch you in our next podcast. Thank you very much.
I so thought he was going to say thank you and goodbye. Come on, sign off, please. Say thank you and look after yourself wherever you might be.
That's that midnight caller.
Yes.
That's the guy he played Gideon in fucking Crusades, didn't he?
He did.
Not Gideon.
Gary Oldman?
Yeah, he did. He played Captain Gideon.
Not Gary Oldman. What's his Gary Coleman? His name's Gary Coleman.
Gary Coleman. Yeah.
Oh, here's a bit of trivia just before we go. Right? Either of you ever watched EastEnders?
No, I hate EastEnders. Last time I watched EastEnders.
Do any of you know who the character of Big Mo is?
No.
You do know who she is.
I don't know the
Bell.
It's a Big Mo. Well, she used to live. I shouldn't really. She lives near your office.
My office?
Yes.
Or no?
All right. Anyway, Big Mo.
I know that Chesney Hawkes lives near my office because I scared him off a bench at the train station.
She lives near your house because she answered the door next to the house near your office. Anyway, people who are listening to this are an EastEnders fans. Big Mo, or Mo, whatever. It's not Little Mo, the other one. Gary Oldman's sister. Absolutely true. If you don't believe me, Google it. Gary Oldman's sister. There you go.
Okay.
See, finished it on a light-hearted thing. Thank you. Good night.